are most welcome to another exciting review of The Richest Man in Babylon. My apologies for coming on late this evening. I'll quickly attend to a few things. All right. So, I'm happy to let us know that this is the review of the final chapter of this book titled Historical Sketch of Babylon. And this chapter is going to reveal some interesting facts about the ancient city of Babylon. From these facts, there are so many lessons to be learned. I bet you some of these facts you never even knew, right? So sit back, relax as we review this together. In the pages of history, there lives no city more glamorous than Babylon. In the pages of history, its very name, that name Babylon itself, conjures visions of wealth and splendor. Its treasures of gold and jewels were fabulous. One naturally pictures a wealthy city. You will think that Babylon was located in a very wealthy environment, surrounded by natural resources, you know, rich materials, and so on. But that was not the case. Babylon was not surrounded by natural resources. The city itself was not naturally rich. Babylon was located beside the Euphrates River in a flat and arid valley, and it had no forest, no mines, no gold mines, no mines of any sort, not even stones for building. It was not even located upon a natural trade route. Rainfall was not even sufficient to raise the crops that were planted in Babylon. So Babylon represents a perfect example of man's ability to achieve any great objective at all that man sets his heart upon to achieve. It is an outstanding example of man's ability to achieve great objectives using whatever means at his disposal. So we complaining that, oh, I am not successful because I didn't have this, because my parents are not that, because I was not born in this rich country, or stuff like that, is just a mere excuse. As a person, as a human being, whatever you set your mind upon to achieve, you can actually achieve it. And Babylon has proven this. The people of Babylon proved this as well. That whatever means you have at your disposal, you can use it to achieve whatever you want to achieve in life. All the resources supporting this large city were man developed. All the riches of Babylon were man made. The people were determined to be prosperous. And it was the people that actually made Babylon the richest city. Babylon itself ordinarily was not a rich city. The people of Babylon, through their industrious nature, their wisdom, their great work ethics, they made Babylon the richest city, right? And Babylon possessed just two natural resources: a fertile soil and water from the river Euphrates. But even at that, it still needed the wisdom of the people to make sure that this water was getting to Babylon, to water the plants and to make the crops grow, right? So with one of the greatest engineering systems or accomplishments that the world has ever known, the engineers in Babylon diverted water from this river by means of dam and immense immigration system into Babylon. And it was reported that the first engineering system or the first engineering works were actually carried out in Babylon. So the engineering that we talk about today emanated from Babylon. Right. Fortunately for Babylon, all the kings that ruled Babylon were very enterprising. They were after justice, and they were wise kings. And this really made Babylon to become a successful city. These kings made sure that Babylon was not conquered. They made sure, because there were so many wars and battles, people who really wanted to conquer Babylon to plunder it, to take away the treasures of the city. They wanted to loot Babylon, but the kings did not permit it. The outstanding rulers of Babylon live in history because of their wisdom, enterprise, and justice. Right. So Babylon did not produce any king that was selfish or that was just after what he could gain. No. And this was one blessing that Babylon enjoyed. Another fact about Babylon is that even though the city of Babylon no longer exists, even though the city did no longer exist, the wisdom of Babylon is still present in the world today. And over the past few days, we've been learning from the wisdom of the people of Babylon. The richest man in Babylon, Akkad himself, has told in this book. We learned from him. We learned from Dabasir. We learned from the guy that we learned about yesterday, Harad Gula, something like that. You know, we learned from so many of them, right? As a city, Babylon exists no more. When those energizing human forces that built and maintained the city for thousands of years were withdrawn, Babylon became a deserted ruin. Babylon came to reigns after so many of the kings passed on, and Alexander the Great planned to conquer Babylon, which I think he did, and he decided that he was going to make Babylon his empire. Unfortunately, he died along the line, and after his death, the enemies of the city, they were able to plunder Babylon, they were able to loot the treasures of Babylon, and people started fleeing from the city one after the other until Babylon became deserted. There was no single human being living there, and till today, I'm not sure. I think because Babylon is now somewhere around the present day Iraq, and I think one ruler or leader in Iraq tried to rebuild it, but even at that, it is not as it used to be, and I'm not even sure that the rebuilding has become successful, right? So Babylon has become ruins. The site of the city is in Asia, and it is about 600 miles east of the Suez Canal. So like I said, it is somewhere around the modern day Iraq. Another fact about Babylon is that gone are the fertile fields, the mammoth city, and the long caravans of rich merchandise. Everything is gone. Everything is gone, because after Babylon became ruins, the Arabs that were living there, they would come, they would pack the stones, because there were so many beautiful bricks and stones in Babylon. We're still going to learn about the walls of Babylon, and it is going to amaze you how rich, how solid the walls were, right? So today, or maybe not today, as at the time that this book was written, Arabs that were living around there, they would go into Babylon, they would pick stones to go and use to build whatever they wanted to build, right? Another fact about Babylon is that for centuries, right, the travelers considered Babylon, the travelers that went around Babylon considered it to be a very great city, a rich city. They considered it to be nothing short of that. And nobody really even knew the name that this city was called until when Europeans and Americans decided to go there, and they decided to excavate some of the clay tablets and some of the jewelries. And when they got there, the only way they knew that this is a city, this city has been inhabited before, was by the graves of people. They saw graves, and they saw so many historical facts. You know that in those days, they used to write upon clay tablets. So they saw the names of people, they saw human interactions and transactions, everything that happened then. They would write it on clay tablets, just like we would write on paper today, you know. And from the graves, and they saw human skulls and remains of humans, they saw gold jewelry and different things. That was how they knew that this used to be a very rich city. And it was on one of the clay tablets that they actually discovered the name of the city, that this city used to be Babylon. So there were so many sponsors and funders from Europe and America that sponsored archaeologists and astronomers to go there to go and do this research, right? To go and do this research. Let me tell you another fact about Babylon. Babylon was originally built of brick. All exposed walls eventually became disintegrated and they went back to earth. So all the walls that Babylon was surrounded with, they are no more. And now, Babylon, that used to be a very wealthy city, is now a heap of dirt, as in dirt, garbage. It was so long abandoned that no living person even knew its name, like I said, until it was discovered by these archaeologists and these researchers from Europe and America who went there. And it was because they carefully removed the clay tablets and the remains of whatever they could find in the ruins of Babylon. Many scientists consider the civilization of Babylon and other cities in this valley, the valley where it was located, to have been the oldest according to records. So civilization actually started from Babylon, and they could they could establish that Babylon existed like 8,000 years before they went there, before they discovered the city. And how did they know? They found a record. The people of Babylon were record keepers. They kept records a lot. And it cost them a lot of time and energy to inscribe on clay tablets. It was something that they labored for, but they love to keep records. So if you don't like to keep record, it is something that you should start doing. They would write on wet clay, and when they are done writing, they will put it in the oven to bake. So when it is done baking, it comes out, it becomes a hard tile with inscriptions on it. So how did they know that Babylon existed 8,000 years before they went there? They saw a record that had, the history of eclipse of the sun that happened at around that time. So they did their research, and from their findings and computing, they discovered that the eclipse of the sun existed around 8,000 years ago. But one thing they could not ascertain was how many years Babylon had existed before this eclipse of the sun. But from the time of the eclipse of the sun, they calculated that it has existed for 8,000 years. So Babylon existed before Christ. It existed before the Christian era and all of that. So they were able to prove that. And they said that the people of Babylon were not barbarians. They were educated and enlightened people. They did not just live in a disorganized place. The entire city of Babylon was fenced round. I hope I've not gotten there. So the description of the fencing. No, I've not gotten there. The entire city was fenced round. And so far as it was written in history, they were the first engineers, the first astronomers, the first mathematicians, the first financiers, the first people to have a written language. So they were educated people, they were enlightened people, right? Let's go to another fact about Babylon. Herodotus, the Greek traveler and historian, visited Babylon long when it was in its prime, when it was still a wealthy city and all of that, and was able to give a description of Babylon from an outsider point of view. He said that the remarkable there was remarkable fertility of the soil and bountiful harvest of wheat and barley, which they produced. Right. Now, it is established that the glory of Babylon has faded, but its wisdom has been preserved for us. And how was it preserved? Through the inscription on the clay tablets. When archaeologists went there to excavate those clay tablets, it was then that they discovered all the wise inscriptions that we're learning about today. You save 10% of your income. If you want to get out of debt, make sure that you don't live on more than 70% of your income. or maybe not out of debt alone. If you want financial freedom, make sure you don't live beyond your means. Make sure that you own a home. Make sure that you don't put your investment into any venture that will make your money disappear before your eyes. Before you start a business or investment, make sure you do your findings and due diligence. All of this were discovered, right? So the glory of Babylon has faded, but its wisdom has been preserved for us. For this we are indebted to their form of records. In that distant day, the use of paper had not been invented, but like I mentioned, they would take their time to inscribe on clay tablets. And even using this clay tablet, they will send messages, just like we'll send letters today. Everything that we can do with paper and pen today, they did with clay, with inscriptions on clay tablets. Right. They did all of that. They did everything by writing on clay tablets. They wrote promissory notes, land titles, agreements. Okay, you're owing me money. They write it on clay tablets. They kept records a lot, right? All the affairs of the people were written on clay tablets. And it was even discovered some transactions between some people, how this person took some cows in exchange for wheat and barley and things like that. All right, let's look at the walls of Babylon. This is another fact. It said that the walls of Babylon were outstanding. Walls surrounded the entire city, and the ancients ranked these cities. They think that the walls, are similar to the Great Pyramids of Egypt, which they categorized among the 7 wonders of the world. The walls were so tall. Let me look for the size here. Queen Semiramis is credited with the erection of the first walls during the early history of the city. It is estimated that they were about 50 to 60 feet high. And on top, the top was so wide that 6 chariots of horses could ride on it. Imagine if you build a fence around your house and it is so wide that you can walk on it. Different people can stand side by side and walk on the top. That was how wide, how magnificent, how tall the walls were. And that was what made it difficult for enemies to penetrate. So many kings from neighboring cities, they were really eyeing the treasures of Babylon, but they could not loot it. They could not get in. They could not conquer the city of Babylon. They could not, because the walls were built to protect it. In one of the chapters, we talked about protection. You cannot afford to be without protection for your investment, for your business, for your finances, even for your own life. You cannot afford to be without protection. And the walls of Babylon teach us a lot about this protection. So you will hardly hear about cities or anybody conquering Babylon until later, sometime later, when Cyrus, is this Cyrus or the king of Cyrus, actually conquered the city of Babylon. Yes, Cyrus, one of the great conquerors of that period. But even at that, he still was not able to conquer, even though they were able to loot the city and get away with some things. And this actually marked the beginning of the downfall of the city of Babylon. I think from this time onward that Cyrus conquered the city. There were some other people that came and looted, going away with the treasures of the city. And little by little, the treasures and the wealth of Babylon started going down the drain. And when the looting and the plundering became so much, people started fleeing from the city until Babylon became so empty, right? Let me see if I'm not leaving out any important points. Babylon became so empty, but then there is so much that we have learned and that we can still learn from the city of Babylon, the richest city in the world as of that time. The wisdom of the people of Babylon lived after them, right? So we're indebted to them. We're indebted to all the people that made Babylon rich. I'm going to leave us with this lesson. And the lesson is that make sure you keep records. Keep records of everything, how you're spending money, your business, your life. Take stock of your life. It is very, very important, right? And nobody is typing in the chat box. And please, I want to also encourage you to read this book. I want to encourage you, if you have read it, please read it again. It is very, very profound. And take note of everything that you are reading. And don't forget all the lessons that we have learned so far. I am hoping that now that we are done with the review of this book, your financial life will be better. You will be on your journey towards financial freedom if you are not already. You're going to be intentional about saving, about investing, about the business that you do. You're going to be so intentional about your financial life, right? And all the things in your life. You're not just going to read and review, just like we've done, but then you're going to implement all the steps, all the actions, and you're going to put into practice the lessons from this book. It has been an awesome read, an awesome review. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for tuning in. We have officially come to the end of the review of The Richest Man in Babylon. There's another book that we're starting tomorrow. Should I let the cat out of the bag by telling you the title? I think I should. We're reading, I don't have it here. We are reading how to finish everything you start, right? Let me hold it there. You don't want to miss it. Please don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to drop your comments. Please subscribe to this channel if you're yet to subscribe. I remain Olaide Agbaje, also known as First Lady. And on this channel, I inspire you to live intentionally. I'll come your way again tomorrow by God's grace. Until then, be intentional. Bye.